The Cold War was changing the meaning of flight. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik into orbit. The small metal sphere circled Earth every 96 minutes. Its radio beeps could be heard by anyone with the right equipment. America had lost the first round of the space race. 2 years later, NASA formed a program to catch up. They called it Mercury. The goal was simple but enormous. Put a man in space and bring him home alive. 7 military test pilots were selected from hundreds of candidates. They became known as the Mercury Seven. Their names were Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton. These men were not scientists. They were pilots who had flown jets at speeds that could kill them in seconds. They understood risk. They understood pressure. Alan Shepard was a Navy commander from New Hampshire. He was 35 years old. He had sharp features and a confident manner. He spoke little but listened carefully. Other pilots respected him. None of them knew who would fly first. NASA kept that decision private. The Soviets moved faster than expected. On April 12, 1961, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin orbited Earth. He spent 108 minutes in space. He returned safely. The world celebrated. Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev claimed it proved communism's superiority. American officials were frustrated. The Mercury program was still testing rockets. No American had left the atmosphere. President John F. Kennedy had been in office less than 3 months. He faced pressure to respond. The space program became a matter of national pride and Cold War competition. NASA decided to proceed with a suborbital flight. It would not orbit Earth. The capsule would arc into space and come back down. Flight time would be 15 minutes. It was less ambitious than Gagarin's mission, but it was a start. 3 weeks after Gagarin's flight, NASA finally announced their choice. Alan Shepard would be the first American in space. The launch site sat on Florida's Atlantic coast. Shepard arrived at Cape Canaveral several days before the scheduled flight. He reviewed procedures repeatedly. He checked equipment. He spoke with engineers. He ran through simulations. The capsule was tiny. It measured 6 feet across and 9 feet tall. Inside, there was barely room for one person. And the instrument panel. Shepard would be sealed inside wearing a pressure suit. He could not stand. He could barely move. The capsule sat atop a Redstone rocket. The rocket was originally designed as a weapon. Now it would carry a human being beyond the atmosphere. If it exploded, Shepard would die instantly. Everyone at Cape Canaveral understood this possibility. The first launch attempt was scheduled for May 2nd, 1961. Weather delayed it. Then technical problems appeared. Days passed. Shepard waited. The delays were frustrating but necessary. Nothing could be rushed. On May 4th, the weather cleared. NASA set the launch for the morning of May 5th. Shepard went to bed early that night. He slept well. Years of military training had taught him to rest when possible. He woke at 1:10 in the morning. Doctors examined him. His heart rate was normal. His blood pressure was steady. He ate a breakfast of steak and eggs. This became tradition for later astronauts. Technicians helped him into his silver pressure suit. The suit was custom fitted but still uncomfortable. It weighed about 20 pounds. Shepard checked every seal and valve himself. His life depended on this suit, working perfectly. A van drove him to the launch pad. The sun had not yet risen. Floodlights illuminated the Redstone rocket. It stood 83 feet tall. Vapor streamed from its sides as liquid oxygen boiled off. The scene looked like something from science fiction. Shepard rode an elevator to the capsule. He climbed inside at 5:15 a.m. Technicians strapped him into the contoured seat. They bolted the hatch shut. 70 bolts held it in place. Shepard was alone now. The capsule's interior was cramped and mechanical. Switches and dials surrounded him. He lay on his back, staring up at the sky through a small window. His knees were bent. His feet were above his head. This position would help his body handle the acceleration forces during launch. The countdown proceeded. Then it stopped. A technical problem appeared. Engineers needed time to check systems. Shepard waited inside the capsule. Minutes passed, an hour passed, 2 hours passed. The morning sun heated the metal capsule. Shepard began to sweat inside his suit. He asked Mission Control about the delay. They told him to wait. He asked how long. They did not know. 4 hours into the wait, Shepard faced an unexpected problem. He needed to urinate. The flight was supposed to last only 15 minutes. No one had installed a urine collection system. Shepard told Mission Control. They discussed options. None were good. Finally, Shepard made a decision. He would urinate in his suit. The ground crew worried about electrical systems. Shepard told them to turn off the power to his biosensors temporarily. They agreed. The liquid pooled briefly, then evaporated in the pure oxygen environment. The countdown resumed. It stopped again. More technical checks. Shepard remained calm. His heart rate stayed steady around 70 beats per minute. Doctors monitoring his vital signs were impressed by his composure. At 9:34 a.m., the countdown reached its final seconds. Shepard placed his hand near the abort handle. If something went wrong, he could activate an escape system. It would blast the capsule away from the rocket. The Redstone's engine ignited. Shepard felt vibration through his entire body. The rocket lifted slowly at first. It gained speed rapidly. The force pushed him back into his seat. He experienced about 6 times normal gravity. The ride was rougher than simulations had prepared him for. The capsule shook violently. Shepard's vision blurred slightly from the acceleration. He kept his eyes on the instruments. Everything showed green. The rocket was performing as designed. 2 minutes and 22 seconds after launch, the Redstone's engine cut off. The sudden silence was startling. Shepard was now in space. The capsule separated from the rocket booster. Small thrusters fired to position it correctly. Shepard looked out his window. He saw the curve of Earth. The sky above was completely black. Below, the Atlantic Ocean stretched in shades of deep blue. Cloud formations looked like white paint strokes. The view was unlike anything he had seen before. He had 5 minutes of weightlessness. His body floated against the restraining straps. A loose washer drifted past his face. He reported his observations to Mission Control. His voice was steady and professional. Shepard tested the capsule's control system. He used hand controls to change the spacecraft's orientation. It responded smoothly. He pitched the nose up and down. He rolled left and right. Everything worked. Mission Control asked him to describe what he saw. Shepard spoke clearly. "What a beautiful view," he said. His words were broadcast live on television. Millions of Americans listened. The flight reached its highest point at 116 miles above Earth. Then gravity began pulling the capsule back down. Shepard felt the shift. He prepared for re-entry, The capsule turned so its heat shield faced forward. This shield would protect him from temperatures reaching 3,000 degrees. As the capsule hit the upper atmosphere, friction began slowing it down. The deceleration pushed Shepard forward against his straps. He experienced 11 times normal gravity. The heat shield glowed orange outside his window. Shepard could see flames streaking past. Radio communication was temporarily blocked by the plasma surrounding the capsule. For 3 minutes, mission control could not reach him. Shepard was alone with the roar of re-entry. The deceleration peaked, then began to ease. The flames outside diminished. The capsule fell through 40,000 feet. A small drogue parachute deployed to slow the fall. At 10,000 feet, the main parachute opened. It was 63 feet in diameter. The capsule swung beneath the parachute like a pendulum. Shepard felt the motion, but remained focused. He prepared for splashdown. Navy helicopters were already approaching the projected landing zone. At 9:49 a.m., 15 minutes and 28 seconds after launch, the capsule hit the Atlantic Ocean. The impact was hard but not dangerous. Water splashed over the window. The capsule tilted briefly, then righted itself. It floated with waves rocking it gently. Shepard reported he was fine. A helicopter hovered overhead within minutes. A diver jumped into the water and attached a line. The helicopter lifted the capsule partially out of the ocean. They flew it to the aircraft carrier, USS Lake Champlain. The ship's crew cheered as the capsule landed on deck. Technicians opened the hatch. Shepard climbed out. He stood on the carrier deck in his silver suit. His face showed no particular emotion. He had completed the mission exactly as planned. Doctors examined him immediately. He showed no ill effects from the flight. His pulse was normal. His responses were sharp. The human body could survive spaceflight. This was no longer theoretical. News of the successful flight spread instantly. President Kennedy called to congratulate Shepard. Newspapers ran banner headlines. Television networks replayed footage of the launch repeatedly. America had put a man in space and brought him home. The Soviet Union had orbited a cosmonaut. America had managed only a brief suborbital hop. But the 15-minute flight proved American technology worked. It proved American astronauts could handle the challenge. The space race was not over. 3 weeks later, President Kennedy addressed Congress. He proposed a goal that seemed impossible. America would land a man on the moon and return him safely before 1970. The announcement was bold and expensive. It committed the nation to a massive effort. Shepard's flight had made that commitment possible. Shepard became a national hero overnight. Parades were held in his honor. He appeared on magazine covers. He received medals and awards. The attention was overwhelming, but he handled it with the same calm he had shown in the capsule. The other Mercury astronauts continued their training. Gus Grissom flew the second suborbital mission in July 1961. John Glenn became the first American to orbit Earth in February 1962. Each flight built on lessons learned from previous missions. Shepard wanted to fly again. In 1964, he developed an inner ear condition that grounded him. Doctors said he could not fly in space anymore. The diagnosis was devastating. Shepard spent years working desk jobs at NASA. He never stopped hoping for another chance. In 1969, surgery corrected his condition. Shepard was cleared to fly again. He was assigned to Apollo 14. In February 1971, at age 47, he walked on the moon. He became the 5th person to stand on the lunar surface. He was also the only Mercury 7 astronaut to reach the moon. During the moonwalk, Shepard did something unexpected. He pulled out a golf club head he had smuggled aboard. He attached it to a sample collection tool. He hit 2 golf balls across the lunar surface. They flew much farther than they would on Earth. It was a moment of playfulness on a mission of serious science. Shepard retired from NASA and the Navy in 1974. He went into business and became wealthy. He established a foundation to support science and engineering education. He gave speeches about the space program. He encouraged young people to pursue challenging goals. He rarely spoke about the fear he might have felt during his flights. When asked, he would say that training had prepared him. He trusted the engineers. He trusted the equipment. He did his job. The Freedom 7 capsule that carried Shepard into space is now displayed at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Visitors can see how small it was. They can see the instrument panel and the tiny window. They can imagine what it was like to be sealed inside atop a rocket filled with explosive fuel. Alan Shepard died in 1998 at age 74. His funeral included full military honors. Fellow astronauts served as pallbearers. He was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His gravestone is simple. It lists his rank and his years of service. It does not mention the 15 minutes that made him famous. The Mercury program ended in 1963 after 6 manned flights. It proved humans could survive launch, weightlessness, and re-entry. It developed technologies that would be used in later programs. It trained the astronauts who would eventually reach the moon. The space race between America and the Soviet Union continued for decades. It drove innovations in rocketry, communications, and materials science. It inspired a generation to study science and engineering. It showed what nations could achieve when they committed resources to ambitious goals. Shepard's flight lasted only 15 minutes. He did not orbit Earth. He did not perform complex experiments. He simply proved it could be done. Sometimes that is enough to change everything.